Welcome back to The Watch, and we are back. Had a bit of a break.
And things have gone dreadful, Shad, since we left.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to catch up on, but we're going to catch up at least on one thing, and that is the discussion about the director of the new Star Wars, upcoming, supposedly, Star Wars Rey movie. But before we do that, over the break, did you guys watch anything? I've been rewatching Reacher. That's been fun.
I watched Loki season 2. You know this. I said this 5 seconds ago.
Well, now it's
I watched Loki season 2. I liked it.
I didn't.
I watched Star Wars Episode 1.
No, isn't there something else you watched, Nathan? You just said it. You just said it.
About it. It's not on camera, so it doesn't
exist.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, you like it?
Solid game. Been really enjoying it. And I've been introducing my older sons to some classic masculine movies like Aliens and
I did
Weapons. Oh, sorry, not Lethal. I mean, Terminator 2.
Good movies.
I did rewatch the Blade trilogy. God, I love Blades. It's so good.
Just go back to the classic movies.
Yeah.
What's really interesting about the classic masculine movies, both Aliens and Terminator 2 have strong female action heroes in them.
Shocking, isn't it?
Could be done well once upon a time. Amazing about that. Because when you compare that to someone like Rey.
Yeah, so what's been happening? Because I know a little bit about this. I've read some comments. They true?
It's old news that has come renewed, become new news to a lot of normies and other people. Where, all right, so the Rey movie looks like they're trying to push it ahead.
Okay, all right, let's start with this. Making a Rey movie is the dumbest idea, stupidest thing you could do. Oh. Okay, continuing on now. Now that we've started with that context.
The assigned director of the Star Wars Rey movie did an interview on CNN, which just highlighted some of her views and everything, which resurfaced some old statements she had made. So, like, one of the statements is that she loves making men feel uncomfortable. Another statement is that she will put activism in all of her projects in one way, form, or another. And there's a bit to unpack about this, okay? The other questions that have arisen is her interest in Star Wars generally and her experience as a director, and why would you give a Star Wars property to someone who has not... They've done documentaries and maybe helped with one of the episodes of She-Hulk, I think.
Right.
Oh, yeah! Did she direct one of I can't remember it specifically, but not much experience. Now, there are caveats to mention about this in the discussion, like what she was referencing when she said she likes making men feel uncomfortable. We'll talk about that, but I think we should unpack a little bit the logic of making a Rey movie.
I was about to get to that. It's like, I don't think I care too much, because even if it was a great director, I wouldn't watch it anyway. I don't care. I don't want to watch a Rey movie. I don't want anything to do with a sequel. So even if it's the most terrible movie in the world, it's like,
it's baffling. Truly baffling. And we mentioned that Disney has not learnt a thing, from their failures. Bob Iger, CEO of Disney, is it Iger?
Yep, it's Iger.
Yep. He said that they're going to try and pull back from politics.
Well, keep in mind, he said this multiple times in the past.
And Disney did not. It's just corporate speech to try and appease investors, make them less worried when it means nothing. It's not. It's just full of bullcrap. And what he continued to say after, when he says pull back from politics, he had also said, I'm paraphrasing, something along the lines of, a company or CEOs, they have a responsibility to be good citizens and to support what is right and just do good. And what his meaning when he says that is that they're still going to do all the woke propaganda stuff because that's what they think is right. That's what they're going to be putting in to the content.
Well, what somebody thinks is right doesn't mean, what I think is right may be different than what you think. Well, maybe you do think is right.
Once upon a time, his words would mean universal morals and standards.
Societal norms.
Exactly. The hero saves the damsel in distress. Genuinely, the roles of men and women, how they support and protect, provide and support one another. Classic roles in classic media, like Spider-Man, classic morality, great power comes great responsibility. Now, what they consider is to their universal morals is things like equality and diversity and
things that are very specific to their geographical location.
Yeah,
that is not universal
these
stuff.
are shadow words, corporate kind of subversive words that actually mean something far more divisive underneath. Okay, and that's what they're going to be pushing, because that is their universal morality that they're pushing, which is the woke agenda. They're not going to change it, and so he even kind of admitted that they're not going to be changing. I don't know how woke the Rey movie would be, right?
I don't think it matters. It's just not going to be a good movie.
Well,
like, Rey is not a good... This is the problem. The damage is done. There's nothing you can do to fix the character, because the fundamental flaws with the character are from a story that's already been told. So it doesn't matter if it's the best movie in the world. It's not going to fix anything.
We're at an interesting point in media that I think the Rey movie is probably going to fall into. And honestly, I think some like Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi also fell into, where something is not necessarily overtly has woke propaganda in, like, say, the Batman, the movie where you have Catwoman saying you have privilege or whatever, and they drop the actual propaganda lines of what woke ideology and stuff.
It's Quantumania. You know those ants with the communism? They're kind of...
Yeah, like, I know communism is a charged word, but and so, like, the Marvels didn't have anything overt like that in there, where it's a pure propagandistic promotional line to subversive,
It just wasn't a
ideology.
very good movie, really.
But the Marvels was built up on the concept of intersectionality, like girl boss, where are all the male heroes, where's the masculinity, those type of things. And the Marvels is actually full of that. And in that sense, it was quite, progressive woke kind of thing, even though it wasn't in your face. And in that sense, it's a bit harmless. It just was lacking some classic themes, really. And strong male characters as well. And so those type of elements did absolutely exist in especially The Last Jedi, with the way that they shut down Poe and the way that the brightly hair-colored general behaved, and the way that Rey was just perfect from the beginning and didn't really need a train, and the whole Mary Sue, and the fact that the female characters can't have weaknesses, and it's the whole girl boss thing. That's all built on this concept of intersectionality, feminism, and stuff like that. In that sense, it's quite thick in there, and I think the Rey movie is just going to be par for the course. But like, other signs about this is like what they were saying about the people who are involved with the Acolyte project. You've heard about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing. Where they said it's time Star Wars had some, I forget the exact lines, something like female leaders or energy or something like that, when it's like, hang on, Star Wars has prominent females in power and leadership, from Mon Mothma to Padme to Princess Leia. My brain just went dead. I gotta figure Princess Leia. And the fact that they could say that is just like, you don't know anything about this franchise, do you? And that's what the lead in for their approach to the Acolyte. And it's the same type of people that are making a Rey movie. And so the Rey movie is going to be par for the course, Mary Sue girl power. There's going to have all those problems in, added with the additional massive problem, she's an unliked character from now a failed franchise and failed movies.
There's also another economic thing going on. First off, they stopped doing Star Wars movies because they started to flop. They started to be a problem. Things like Solo, Rise of Skywalker, they did not do the best. So what happened is they put a hold on all the movies, started doing all the TV shows. And then,
boy, did they do great.
Which has also not gone very well. And then their first step back into movies is going to be like the stupidest one to do.
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing that the TV series, the Star Wars TV series, was them trying to milk whatever nostalgia that they could, because they were lacking the talent to actually make something new in the Star Wars. Either so, all right, what can we? Boba Fett. We'll do Boba Fett. Or first it was the Mandalorian. That kind of started off well financially for them, which was kind of milking Boba Fett. But then they really milked Boba Fett in this dedicated series. And Boba Fett was just absolute dog crap. You know about that, don't you, Nathan?
Gosh, it was the worst season I've ever. Actually, no, sorry, Kenobi was the worst thing I've ever watched.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Because that flopped. Yeah, then they go on to milk Kenobi.
Yeah.
And then that Kenobi was unbelievable crap. Okay.
Well, not only that, it did it did core fundamental damage to the it was the biggest damage since The Last Jedi. Kenobi was terrible because have you seen the numbers? How like ever since Kenobi, everything's been getting lower and lower and lower.
And what they did to Kenobi, like Kenobi is all the deaths of.
Not on iPhone. Shaky cat.
Okay, so Kenobi was a disaster. What else could they milk after that? They try and keep milking Mandalorian. Mandalorian flops massively and becomes the female DeLorean because he needs to be replaced. And then what can they milk? Rebels. They can milk Ahsoka, and that was a terrible show as well. And then you have a weird kind of blip with Andor. I found Andor mostly boring with little gems speckled here and there, but mostly...
But see, that's the problem with Andor.
Yes.
People either love it or hate it. There's no, universally this is good. It's like, if you ask someone, there's a 50-50 chance they're going to go, I love it or I hate it.
I actually found it mostly unforgivably boring, and the filler was unnecessary, which is frustrating because there were some really good elements in it. Didn't like Andor myself. There are mixed views on it. Andor is still probably one of the best pieces of Star Wars media Disney has made.
Hold on.
At least worst, I would say.
There's a difference between it's good media in and of itself in terms of competently written and shot and stuff like that versus being a good Star Wars show. Those are two different things.
That sounds like a debate we would need to have another time.
we were supposed to do that like a year ago. Anyway.
So Star Wars have it's unbelievable, actually impressive how effectively they've destroyed this franchise. They've milked whatever nostalgia they can get out of it to the point where they don't have nothing left. What's remaining?
What was the thing is when we look at the upcoming schedule of all the stuff that hasn't even released yet, there's not a single thing I care about. Not at all. Ahsoka was the last one where I'm like, maybe. Mando season 3 did not do it for me. Kenobi was rough.
And so it's like scraping the bottom of the barrel. They have nowhere else to go. They're doing a Rey movie. And it's like, sure, has anyone gone to the people where he's like, you do realize Rey is disliked by the larger Star Wars universe. There's the Simps for it. Yeah, sure, there's people that like the character. Very small minority. She is not beloved by and the characters that you had nostalgia, you've already I was specifically talking about
the Rey character, not Daisy Ridley or whatever.
Yeah, of course.
I want to make sure we make that distinction.
I was just going to say, though, since she finished the trilogy with them, she hasn't had very much success in her other roles either. So I think she's very all hands on deck to, be in this
trilogy. Have many other options.
Nah,
didn't Adam Driver recently say that he's not going back to Star Wars?
Oh, yeah, no, he's done with that.
Just like John Boyega as well.
I credit to Daisy Ridley. There's nothing come across my radar of her saying something particularly nasty, mean, aggressive to the fans, everything calling him all that stuff. And I think she does cop it a decent amount for, playing Rey. All my criticism has been on the Rey character, okay, not Daisy Ridley. And I think she seems like a nice person, honestly. So it's like I was saying, it seems like Disney has nothing else, no other options and so, okay, yes, keep doing it, Disney. The only people who are going to profit from us from so many people are going to profit from a Rey movie is the channels like us in the Fellowship. I was sure, you get what you deserve. You're not learning from any of the mistakes you've made. Keep doing it. And hey, if it's good, we'll admit it. All right.
The problem, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's good. The problem is the fundamental core flaws with character. What's already been made.
Yes,
that's the problem here.
They're trying to build a new movie off of
quicksand.
Yeah, a foundation that is already falling apart.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now there are signs that this movie is going to be terrible. And part of the signs are the general red. We did a video, Nathan, you and me, about red flags. How do we know something's going to be bad or it's going to be bad? Now, those largely hold true. There's only been 2 examples in recent memory where red flags were pleasantly subverted and something good was made even in spite of the red flags. And that was House of the Dragon and Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah.
Outside of that, especially with Rings of Power, we have been 100% spot on. But guess what? When we're wrong, we admit it. Hey, it was a good film if it comes out. But there are red flags with this. Some big ones with the Rey movie. And it's the director. Now, the director, let's talk about the the quote that she has where she says she likes making men feel uncomfortable. This was in relation to one of the documentaries that she did. Now, it looks like a documentary is actually something about like exposing some abuse women were having in Middle Eastern countries under Islam and stuff, which seems, hey, that's all power to you. Well done. That further light needs to be put on that. And people have been saying that her quote about making men feel uncomfortable was in because I don't have confirmation that it was in relation to the types of men that were abusing the women that she was shedding a light on in her documentaries. I still have concerns if she's capable of saying that statement, in the sense that it didn't seem like it was specific to the she just almost was
Just like in general.
It felt like more of a reflection of her mindset and mentality versus a specific, I like making the men who abuse women uncomfortable. She didn't say that. She said, I like making men uncomfortable, which does like, because again, just like reverse it.
Yeah.
Imagine a man saying that about women. It's like,
well, there's also the Acolyte director, that Leslie
Helen?
yeah, and isn't she also a big red flag? And this is the thing, is like, I'm
former assistant to Harvey Weinstein.
that one. So let's put it this way. 2 points make a dot, make a line, like it's not the first time Disney's doing this, and I'm sure it won't be the last time. I don't understand it, because I don't know why you would want to have directors who are inclined either way, it can be either way. Just why would you want directors who are in realms that may be divisive?
I mean,
Personally.
even with Rian Johnson, you still had
Like he split, when that stuff came out, he's like, yeah, I want to split that.
like stuff. Like, it doesn't matter.
What did he say?
I want to intentionally split the fan base in half. Like,
Well done.
you did it.
Well done. Worked out great.
It's just heavy breaths from the soul, because it just hurts so much.
We are all were once upon a time big Star Wars fans. Okay, and so
You know what hurts me the most with all this? I've recently been watching, like, because George Lucas isn't out and about very much. I've been watching things of him.
We watched the 4K Rebecca the Sith.
Yeah, we did. But I've been watching videos of him recently. He's getting old. He's 77. He is frail. He can hardly walk now. And it breaks my heart thinking his last, like, envisionment of his franchise is going to be Rey, the movie, the thing that he, it makes me sad, but also angry at the same time, because that breaks my heart.
Well, there is a white pill in all of this. Recently, it was done by fans, right?
Yeah.
The Revenge of the Sith Clone Wars animation fight scene. It's awesome.
It's funny when your fans, who like the franchise are in charge of it.
I mean, I think Star Wars, especially at least the original trilogy, should be public domain by now.
I actually did the math on this, and when I turn 77, that's when it becomes public domain. And so if I'm still alive, then you better believe I'm going to make something.
I genuinely think public domain copyright lasts too long. Copyright law, there's some important aspects to it. I do think it lasts too long. And when something has like a cultural, importance, that feels like there's a sense of ownership by the people who grew up with it and stuff. It should be a public domain thing, but they'll hold on to the.
I don't know if I agree with that.
No?
No.
I do.
I think it's
I'm not going to argue with you about it. I don't know. I don't think I agree with that.
It is an aside, because we should go back to the discussion about the director, okay? So, yeah, she said that statement. That statement to me is still a red flag, even if you try and add the charity that it might be out of context. The fact that she's later on said that she puts activism into all her projects, it's like, ooh. And then there's just also the fact that it doesn't, like, what does she care about this franchise? Like she doesn't have a real experience in terms of directing similar type of stuff. Now, what's interesting, people have been making a comparison between the reaction to her statements and her back experience, stuff like that, because people have been trying to say the criticisms against her for what she has said and her experience, they've been trying to deflect and say, you just hate that she's a woman. You just hate that a woman is directing Star Wars. It's like, piss off. That has nothing to do with the concerns that we have.
Yeah.
Right?
Like we said before, Rian Johnson was a man, said something about dividing the franchise. We're not happy with it. I don't care.
So some people question the one of those statements.
Yeah. I just do want to point out that Deborah Chow directed Kenobi.
Yeah,
and a lot of people before were like, "Oh, maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be
because
good."
she did Mando stuff that was like good episodes we enjoyed, and then she was in charge of the entire series, and it was awful.
Who was the director that did Wonder Woman?
I don't know.
Because she was set up to direct a Star Wars film, and this was before Wonder Woman 84 came out, by the way, when there was some legitimate concerns about her capacity as a director, right? This was coming off the success of Wonder Woman, and like there was no criticisms about a woman, taking on a Star Wars property. People have tried to say, no, there's been people in the community who have made videos against her, and that was later when certain comments dropped or surfaced about what, that raised concerns. But no, when it was first announced, there was no one complaining by the fact that a woman was going to direct a Star Wars property. That has nothing to do with it.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, no one gives...
Let me rephrase that. If they're good at what they do, nobody cares. It's just, it's usually when they're bad. Like Taika Waititi, we're like, ooh.
To get him
maybe
so
not.
far away.
Ryan Johnson, no thank you, man. Even J.J. Abrams, like, I'm good, man. So, like, it's not a man or a woman thing. It's just, are you good at it?
She hasn't said anything about, I love the franchise or want to reinvigorate Rey or, any sort of good things. All the comments that she's said that people have taken, have not been good. So we're not very excited for this new franchise.
The projection is that this is going to be a film that has propaganda intentionally injected into it based on the director, that the director doesn't really understand or love the franchise that she's going to be part of. It's already got a girl boss Mary Sue character that very few people like. And so this Rey movie, it looks like it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah. And the funny thing too with this Rey movie, we're not going to have Finn probably or any of the other cast and crew from the previous sequel trilogy. So now it's just going to be Rey by herself and has no friends anymore because they all left her.
There is a further insult to injury with this Rey movie. One of the ideas that has been speculated of what it's going to be is that it's going to be Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order when that should have been Luke.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you? And this is not about a woman doing the role that Luke Skywalker. It's about someone that is a worse character that you specifically made to subvert and replace Luke Skywalker. If this was a male character that was a Mary Sue and is poorly written, we would have just as much a problem as a loathsome, hated character doing something that a beloved character was meant to do in the expanded universe. That was his role.
Well, he did do it. He did do it in canon as well, in Disney canon, because in the Mando he's doing it. And that's how Bannon became Rey, Kylo. And the funny thing I find about that is that she's going to train Jedi? Doing what? What training did she get?
Like, just do it, guys. When you born naturally like this, just use the lightsaber.
Yeah, just pick it up.
Just learn to juggle in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's an inside joke.
Because I reckon, talking about characters we don't like, imagine if, like, Jar Jar Binks became Darth Sidious. There would be... Okay,
I'd find more interest in that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you subvert things too much, then people aren't going to like it.
Yeah.
This is the current state of the Rey Star Wars film and what it's looking like. Wow.
These executives at Disney, they make such big brain decisions. I just don't get them as a layman. I just don't get them. They're really a cut above the rest.
Think 6 steps ahead,
It's because it's not about money. It's about the message. Disney has been infiltrated by activists. That's the fundamental. Even Iger is an activist. Okay, but has been trying to appease the investors. It's not working. That's why there is legitimate, speculation about a challenge to his authority by other people that might be getting some more influence and power. And that's interesting to follow about what's happening there. Because, like we were talking with on FNT. It was great. Legal someone, I forget. But he had some great things to mention on FNT about there is legitimate legal recourse for investors to actually do something against Disney for losing the money, what seems to be intentional.
Yeah, when you do it on purpose. Yeah.
And so, because it seems like Disney, it's so clear what you've done that's failed, right? And what not to do to repeat it, but they're doing the same thing. And so it's like,
Especially when it's your job to be a businessman doing business stuff. Okay.
so there we are. What do you guys think? This has been very interesting to follow during the Christmas break, to discuss about it. That's kind of our thoughts on it. Let us know what you think. And as always, stay on watch.